ready to begin. My name is Dave Greenspan. I work for the Lorain County Board of County Commissioners, and some of you are very familiar faces. I noticed you from the strategic plan that we ran for a year and a half, and we talked about transit as being one of the primary needs in Lorain County, and I know the ViaLC team, we're here to talk about some transit opportunities via Via as well. I want to welcome you on behalf of the County Commissioners of Lorain County Transit, and I'm going to moderate the event this evening, but you're going to hear less of me because you don't need really to hear a lot of me. What you really came to hear are folks who are really knowledgeable in the area of transit and some of the opportunities we've been having in the county, some of the successes. First, I want to introduce Commissioner Dave Moore, and Dave's been a strong advocate, as you know, for a number of years to provide transit opportunities in Lorain County. And so I want to turn over to him to kick off the event, and I'll introduce our speakers as we move through the program. So let me introduce Commissioner Dave Moore, and he's going to speak a little bit more and give some opening comments.
Thanks, Dave. Okay. I'm Dave Moore. I'm your Lorain County Commissioner. I brought notes. Give you a little bit of my background. I am a University of Michigan graduate, so don't hold that against me. We do have some fans up there. Hard to believe a Republican in 2000 could win as a Michigan graduate, but I did win in 2000. I was the first Republican since '56. As I took office, I started talking to the Transit Authority back then, and I kept hearing the same thing. You know what? We need more money. You know what? The fixed route systems doesn't work. So I proceeded to work in 2001 and 2002 with the directors there to try to get it so it's more efficient for our communities. And it struck out. Couldn't get anything done. And I thought back then, this is kind of amazing, but a thing called Dial Ride, which still exists, is a service I used growing up. And I knew it was an efficient way of moving people around and being very affordable. And I was asking for statistics and data, and I couldn't get it. Fast forward to 2020, I decided to do it again. Everybody thought it was crazy, but I thought, okay, I'll try running for office again. I won, and things started to, it was a little bumpy ride for 2 years. I'm not going to revisit those 2 years, but as we started to grow and look at transit again, I spent 2 years going to the same meetings I went 15 years earlier. I'm sitting in these rooms, and it's the same thing I heard 15 years ago. We need more money. And I'm looking around, and the public sees empty buses on fixed route systems. That's what they see. And every time they try to pass a tax, levy, whatever you want to call it, it failed in Lorain County twice. The cities of Elyria and Lorain need it, but the rest of the county felt they did not. So the concept of trying to revisit transit again, as I was speaking and going to these events, because it sounded like the same thing over and over. So here it is 25 years later, and I started talking to Jack Bradley and Mayor Brubaker, and I thought we were discussing transit. The strategic plan was being put in place, and as they were interviewing everybody, we were already ahead of the curve in Lorain County, knowing that we have a transit issue. So what we did is, with NOACA, they came up with this funding source, and Lorain tried to do it, and they came to us and said, I guess we have to go through you. I said, okay, well, what have you got so far? We have $7 million. When are we going to get it? In 2026 or 2027? Well, we got lucky in Lorain County because we were given excessive amounts of money from the federal government, and we had to use it somehow. So we thought, why not advance the funds now and move forward now? You know, I believed in what I saw. Jack Bradley believed in it. Kevin Brubaker believed in it. And I said, okay, it's a pilot program. Let's experiment on Elyria and Lorain because that's where the needs are. So that's what we did. In March and April, we started talking about it. We applied for the grant within 24 hours. We were running out of time, and that's how quickly the Board of Commissioners operated, working with the city of Lorain and NOACA. And so we know the money's coming. So we advanced those funds to get the ball rolling instead of waiting. And within 90 days, we knew this was going to be a very successful program for our community. Now, here we are in July 24. We kicked it off. Within 30 to 60 days, we could see something was going on. And Karen Perkins is really spearheading this for us, and she knows I'm a data guy, and so she's always feeding me the data. Here's what's going on. And before I digress, is someone gonna go over all the data here, or is that me? Someone else? Oh, you're gonna do that? Okay, then I'll save all the good stuff for Karen. And so, as we started to see it, the next step that we had was how are we going to move forward? All right, the county isn't gonna pick this up. And if you've noticed anything, if you've ever heard me speak, I'm always talking about partnerships. When we had these ARPA funds, people were saying, hey, we want money. I said, great. Let's say the townships, they want money. Okay, great. How much money did you get in ARPA? We'll match it, and we'll form a partnership, and we'll take those dollars and we'll extend it out and do more with them, more with our money. And that's what we started to do. Same thing here. So then, Mayor Bradley came right at me and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. We'll be a partner. Because I told everybody, that's what we want. We want you to partner with us. And so he gave me a number, and it wasn't until a week ago, Karen told me, hey, Elyria and Lorain wants a partner. I said, oh, what's the number? She told me the number. I'm like, oh, I had more money coming from those guys. So anyway, I was trying to get a little bit more, but that's okay. Because the next step is this. I know communities like Oberlin, they really want this. I know Avon really wants this, because Avon over by Cabela's, if you take a look, there's a lot of growth, a lot of jobs. And if you like Cabela's too, I like them. So the affordability of this project, or this ride, is $2, just like a fixed route. So everybody likes it. We've had over 38,000 riders. The bottom line is that, like any other government program, is money. And I'm not going to debate what's going on at the federal level, but let's face it, we all know things are getting cut. But your Lorain County Commissioners, what we're doing is we already saw what was going on in 27. We know that it's going to be tight in 26 and 27. So not knowing what was going to happen in DC, we were already preparing our budgets for, as I think Commissioner Riddell said, the ARPA hangover, when that money is gone. But the way this is set up with our transit program, the budget's like $5 million, a lot of grant monies from the state and the federal government. We're trying to take that fixed route system that we have, implement the VIA system into that, and how do we make that work within that budget of using grant dollars? Because even if we do it again and ask the public to participate financially with a tax, based on what everybody's property taxes are, it's not going to pass. Okay, so we know that. So how do we make it work? We have a very successful program here. And that's going to be our job, working in partnerships. And what we've been doing since I've been in office is taking away the fiefdoms that each elected official has. Every municipality has. And by talking to our mayors and talking to our city council members and all the communities, showing them we want to be your partner. We don't want to tell you what to do, but we want to be your partner. And that partnership has taken years to develop, and it's working. It's working in the townships. They feel like they have a seat at the table finally. It's working in the cities. It's working in the villages, because we're accessible. And I think by showing, it's kind of amazing what I see happening with VIA. What VIA is going to do for our county is that by working as a team with Lorain and Elyria, the mayors, we don't even talk party politics. We talk what's right and what we want to do for you, the public. And that's why I get along great with these guys. And so what I see happening in the future, because of VIA, because of the success, is other things are going to start to happen with our community because of that partnership, because they trust each other. And as government officials start to trust each other, I think we're going to see more and more positive impacts, because there's only so much money that you can get from a taxpayer. And that's what we have to deal with moving forward. Because right now, all you have to do is turn on the TV and see that the word is cut. And I tell you right now, Lorain County has the lowest sales tax in the state of Ohio, 6.5%. The outgoing administration in 2020 cut the sales tax by 0.25%, trying to harm the incoming administration. That's what they did. And we held our own. We did not reimpose that sales tax, but we probably would have had to if it wasn't for the money that we got from the federal government. But in the meantime, we've been running lean and mean and looking for efficient ways to provide services. And VIA is that efficient way to provide services for our community, at the same time not going to the taxpayers and asking for money. And right now is not a good time to ask for any money. So there's a lot of things that we are working on. I'm very proud to be a part of VIA. Like I said, it was something I started working on 25 years ago. And when I came back, it was the same thing over and over. And I just felt like it's something that's insanity, right? Trying to do something different and get this. And when this came up and this presentation came to us, as a data guy, the fact that all we gotta do is call Via, they will tell us. Actually, they'll tell us everything that you need to know in regards to customer satisfaction, in regards to where you're going. We know what's more important for the people and where they attend. I've done 3 radio station interviews today, and we were very well received on the product, which is Via. Karen said the mayor hasn't showed up, and she says I need to talk longer. So, unless he shows up, right? So anyway, so that's kind of what's going on. That's the overview. I was told to talk about the past, talk about the present, but the future is really up to all of us in this room. It's up to our city council members. It's up to our mayors. It's up to like I said, I don't think Rochester is going to be interested in Via, but Dial Right can assist them. So we can take what we have and make it work. And for example, I'll share some stories since I have time. Karen got a call from somebody that said the doctor, or was it the hospital or Dr. Hammers? Because remember, it was the urban area said, this is our customer base is here, and we're here, and we're, how many blocks? We're like 3-4 blocks away. Yeah, can you move the line over, because there's Giant Eagle there on 254, and there's some other doctors and everything else, and within, a week you had it fixed? So what I love about this program, what I love about VIA is that they have the ability to tweak it and make it fit for your community. And that's what I love about it. And you gotta remember, in 2000 and 2001, we didn't have these things, okay? This new thing called the internet was just starting out, okay? So 92% of all orders are on this thing called the cell phone. So everything is done through this cell phone. I was shocked at that when I heard the number. So we didn't have that in 2001. So now with all this technology coming to our communities, this is one of those things where it shows you the positive impact that technology can have at a level in communities that really need it the most. And I'm just proud to be a part of this team that put this together. So I'm proud to be part of the team with Mayor Brubaker and Mayor Bradley. I know both of them took a lot of heat over my campaign with the photo I used. Oh, we laughed at that one? Okay, so I do get along. We have a great sense of humor with each other. We do pick on each other. And I do have a great relationship with those guys. And we are working well on other projects that's coming up. I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing other things, but I think I'll stick with just VIA, right? But the goal here is not to increase your taxes. The goal here is to keep the costs the same. It's costing the county $18 a person. We're only charging you $2, $1 for free, depending on who you are. And that's where we need. I was hoping we get a lot of companies here today, because we need to start talking to the companies that have reached out to us and said, we need workers. I think 43% of people that are using it for jobs. That's amazing numbers. So that's why we're looking at Avon Lake, or not Avon, over there where all those jobs are. And there's a lot more jobs that are coming. We are working with economic development teams all over the Midwest. We have one of the largest mega sites in the Midwest. And we have something that everybody likes today. We have a lot of land, a lot of water, and a lot of great people that want to work. We got LCCC. I brag about them all the time. Because back in 2000, we created a thing called Glide. And because of that cutting edge technology and what that college has done, people are happy. I mean, that's the first thing they look at is your workforce. Do you have the ability to train your workforce in today's environment, which is changing rapidly? And we have something that nobody else in the state of Ohio has, and that's LCCC. And that's a part of the VIA route. So we have the ability to train our workforce. We have the ability to have affordable housing. And with all the work we're doing in Baumhart Road, all the way down to the airport with sewers and water, we will soon have one of the largest growth in housing, probably in the next 5 years. We're probably looking at 5,000 to 10,000 homes, easily, once these sewers are put in. Because that's the biggest complaint we're having is affordable housing, supply and demand. There's not a lot of houses that are available, so your rents go sky high, it's a whole domino effect. So we need more housing. So once we get the housing, the jobs are coming. Transportation for 25 years has always been the issue. And guess what? I feel today it's fixed. We want to branch out. We would like to include other communities. We want other communities to step up. And Karen's been working on those numbers so that they can participate and make that happen. Usually someone has a hook that tells me to stop, so I don't know how much luck. Okay, good. So, okay, I guess I'm going to pass this off to you, and I'm going to stick around. If you guys want to talk some more, I'm available. Our other commissioner showed up, Marty Gallagher, our latest new one, and I know Jeff is going to make it. But if you have anything to ask us, feel free, and I'll hand it back to Dave. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I do also want to recognize Commissioner Gallagher this evening. One of the things we do, and we're doing it more, I think more in Lorain County recently than we've done in the past, is planning, right? We did a strategic plan, we're now implementing the strategic plan. LCCC is working on their strategic plan. And I want to talk and introduce Laura Brown, I'm sorry, she's with RLS and Associates, and they're putting together a transportation development plan so that we can implement some of the issues and some of the items specifically that Commissioner Moore referenced. So Laura, if you want to come on up, and I'll turn the program over to you.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all. So he introduced me, but I'm Laura Brown, and I am a consultant helping to work on a transportation plan. But before I tell you about that, could I ask you all to raise your hands if you ride transit here? Raise your hand. I love it. Very good. And are you an employer? I have some employment stuff too. So okay. Very good. Well, I was just curious. So I have a couple of statistics I wanted to share with you, but before I do that, I wanted to tell you that we are conducting what is called a transportation development plan that looks at all the transit service that's offered. So not just Via and the microtransit, but the fixed routes and everything, the demand response throughout the county. And this plan will ultimately result in a 5-year recommendation for what to do over the next 5 years. So we're going to look at the routes, and Mr. Moore mentioned, maybe some of them don't have as many riders as you wish they did. And is there anything we can do about that? Things like that. How they connect, how they work together, what the schedules are. So we're going to be looking at that as part of this planning process, and we've already started. I have a few facts to present to you today just to get your minds going on that topic. But I'm honored to be here. I used to live in here a long time ago, about 20 years ago. I lived in Oberlin. I don't live here anymore, but I am aware of the history too, and I really appreciated what you said, because I feel the same way. We've known transit is important to this area forever. And it has been, and it's a strong system, but so much more could be done. So I'm really excited that you're where you are today. So I'm gonna flip to the next slide. So I'm gonna read, these might be small, so I'm gonna read it to you in case you can't see it from where you're sitting. Our topics, one of the main topics we're gonna look at in the TDP is workforce transportation. So we're looking at it overall. TDP is transportation. But we're really taking a hard look at workforce, so getting people to where they need to be to maintain a job, get there on a regular basis, in whatever mode of transportation that might be, and what are some of the challenges to do that. So if you are an employer, you might hear from this study, someone might reach out to you and ask you some questions about your workforce, and so that's why we're asking, we want to know how many employees you have and what your shift times are and things like that, so we can help match up transportation with the needs. And one of the really big reasons to do that is just because transportation can help people sustain their workforce. Right now, the unemployment rate is not too bad compared to what it has been. I guess it's 4% in January of 2025 was the national unemployment rate. At 4.6% in Ohio, 5% in Lorain County. So when the unemployment rate is low, sometimes that means it's harder to find people to fill jobs. So if you are an employer, you're struggling maybe to find people to fill jobs, or you might find them, but then their ride falls through and they can't keep coming. And so they lose that job. And so that's where transit becomes really important to help sustain the workforce. When the employment rate goes up, or when the unemployment rate goes up, then sometimes the people who are working get pretty stressed out because they're trying to do a lot of work because they don't have enough support. They're trying to keep up with everything. And transit can help in that situation too. Those folks who do have a ride, or do have ability to get to work, if they could maybe ride on transit instead, statistics show that it reduces stress. It makes the one less thing to think about. Just get on the vehicle and go to work, and you don't have to think about anything on the way there. So employers often find that people who ride share or use public transit are more reliable, and transportation can also be an attractive benefit that's available to employees. So we can talk about that on the side if you want, but it can be a tax-free benefit program as well to help the employee and help their paycheck go a little bit further, and a benefit for the employer as well. It also, if you're a customer to a business, it also brings more business. Of course, if there's a bus going by your store, people can hop off and check it out. Maybe they check it out while they're waiting for the next bus to come along and do a little shopping. So it's such a connection for the community to have public transit in no matter what mode that might be. So it can be an affordable option to transit. So the question here on this slide, if you can read it or not, it says, how can transit support the employer and the employee? Number one, transit is a convenient and affordable alternative to owning a vehicle, right? It can help you reduce your household expenses because you don't have to pay for insurance and fuel and all those other things. Some of you are well aware of that already if you're using transit. And it also maybe opens up new places you can live around Lorain County. If there's transportation available to where these apartments are being built, or where this housing is available, then I can live there because I can still get to my job. And that changes everything. That opens up all kinds of choices for folks. It's an option for a potential employee who doesn't have a car, who shares a car, maybe a two adult household with one vehicle. Now this other person, the second person, can maybe get a job because they can ride on public transit. So all of those kinds of things, that along with just the stress-free environment that transit can offer, are some of the driving factors between where you are now with transit and why we want to really improve it, and why one of the focuses is on employment and workforce transportation. It's not the only focus, of course, but that is a big driving factor for why that plan was initiated. I have a couple of statistics to share with you too, just in case you're interested in statistics. I like maps and statistics. So. This information is from something called Housing and Transportation Index, and you can find it online if you wanted to dig into it at all. But it shows that right now, on average, Lorain County residents spend 22% of their household income on transportation. And then the map, it's interactive, you can kind of zone into right where you live, but it shows geographically where which people are spending more, right, on transportation, and which are spending less. And naturally, this map shows that the more rural areas are spending more on transportation, right? They're driving farther. They're probably spending more on gas than folks who might live in Elyria or live in one of the cities. On the other side of that, Lorain County residents are spending 25% of their income on housing, on average, across the county. And that ranges from very low percent to even up to 63% of their income spent on housing. And you mentioned the housing shortage, so maybe that was part of the factor. But what that tells us is, if folks are having to spend more on housing, what can we do to reduce what they have to spend on transportation? How can we give them more options for transportation to make it more affordable to live here and to work here? This map shows, if you can see the dark shaded areas, this shows the percent of the population that lives below the federal poverty level. In the darkest areas is the higher density of people living below the federal poverty level. And then the light, as it gets lighter, those are less people, less density of people living below poverty. And we look at this when we study transit, and we're looking at, as you can see on the countywide level, because it helps us understand where some of the demand might be higher for affordable transportation options, folks who are trying to stretch that budget to cover housing and transportation and everything else. So that the areas of higher density probably are going to have a higher likelihood of needing transportation and using transportation. And that's probably, we'll see if I laid a map of your fixed routes over it, you probably see a lot of the fixed routes cover those areas because there's more density there and more demand. So those are some of the factors that we'll be looking at in addition to just general population density. Another one is where people with no vehicles live. So zero vehicle household is a big driver for transportation need. And we put all those factors together to try and recommend areas that might need more transportation options, might need it more often, might need more vehicles, versus areas that still might need transportation, but maybe not as much. A couple more facts. I only have a couple more facts to share with you today. But this map, or this two maps, this slide, shows population density and employment density. And so these are two other factors, of course, that are important. And if you're an employer, you think about these things too. Where is my workforce coming from? So we don't know exactly from this, that's why we need to talk to you all, but we know that generally where the highest population densities are, and that's the darker areas that you see, consistent with, Oberlin, Elyria, Lorain, North Ridgeville, Avon, those areas. I'm not mentioning them all, but that's a large part of it. And the maps beside it that has the red and blue circles on it, those are locations of employers. So that's where the largest workforce is. And again, if we think about microtransit, we think about Via, or we think about any of the modes of service, we think about, do we need that kind of transportation there where those biggest employers are? And if we do, what level of service will be needed, and how can we pay for it? How can we make it all work together with everything, which is what the commissioner mentioned before, partnerships. And that leads me to the final slide, which is just a snapshot of how public transit is funded. And we stuck this in here just in case you're wondering, although I know the commissioner did bring it up already. It's a partnership. It's a partnership locally to come up with that local funding. And that's right now, this is a snapshot from about a year ago of public transit funding here in Lorain County. So 25% of the budget came from local resources. Only 3% came from directly generated, which might be your how much you pay as a fare to get on. It may be also some other contract revenue that the system has. 18% of the budget comes from state funding, and about 54% came from federal funding. So public transit is a partnership in funding, and it comes from state, local, and federal sources. And those local sources are especially important because you need those to leverage the state and federal funds. So that's why that partnership conversation that he just had in presentation really hit the nail on the head. It's really great that you're all here to talk about this and that you're all interested in it and passionate about it, because without the people and the partnerships, it just doesn't happen. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Laura. So you've seen driving around, and we talk about the microtransit system. You've seen the ViaLC vans driving all over Lorain and Elyria. And right now I want to bring up Sarge to, as we affectionately call him, introduce his full name, since I seem to be messing up names this evening. I'd rather just start easily with that. Sarge is with ViaLC and their company. It's all over the world, as I understand their operations. This is the service they provide, and I believe that Karen would acknowledge this as well, that they've been a very strong partner with us in meeting the needs that Commissioner Moore spoke of, and Commissioner Gallagher is focused on, and Commissioner Riddell. So I'll turn it over to Sarge, and he can speak a little bit more to the progress and the programs that they're running.
So thank you very much. Just to introduce myself again, I'm Sarge Cassett. I lead kind of I lead our Midwest team here at VIA, so I get the opportunity to look at a lot of different microtransit systems all across the Midwest. And what I can really say here truly, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here in Elyria and Lorain County, but the amount of enthusiasm, the amount of engagement, the amount of riders that are really interested in the system, interested in seeing it move to the future has been tremendous here. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Gallagher for being here as well, and truly supporting the system as we think about the future. I want to also introduce Jesse. Jesse here is our GM of the service, so he manages all of our operations, and we wanted to talk about a couple of things today. So first, we want to brag on the service a little bit. It's performing extremely well. We're really excited about this continuing into the future. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on is kind of what does the future of ViaLC look like from a technology perspective too. Karen will, towards the end of this session here, give a lot more statistics about how the services perform, but I think it's really important to also think about the future as we also reflect on the past. So Jesse, I'll pass it over to you first as we think about what the services look like over the last few months.
This is working, yes. Great to meet everyone. Thank you all for coming. As Sarah said, this service has been a tremendous success. And not only have we reached a point where we are serving over 7,000 rides per month, but from the very first month and the very first week, this service really caught on here and it quickly became an extremely reliable transit option. I'm not sure how many people can see this trend line going through the middle of the page, but this is one of our peer services up in Michigan, who you'll be happy to know has been. You'll be happy to know ViaLC has been far outperforming. If you could see the jump up.
Did you say we were outperforming Michigan?
Absolutely, outperforming. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. So the adoption has been significant since the beginning, and not only that, it has been consistent in the time since then. And as we all know, and I think we have some riders in the room, and we have some drivers of the service as well. Thank you all for being here and for what you do for the service. This service is clearly needed in this community. And thanks to that community-wide adoption, what we've seen here is that, once again, outperforming our counterparts in Michigan, this is one of the most efficient services, and Commissioner Moore highlighted this as well. Efficiency is such a big deal with trends going towards cutting rather than expanding. Taking those dollars and deploying them in the most efficient way possible is so important. And so here you can see a metric we use here, transient utilization, of how many rides we're serving per hour, and it's truly significant how many riders we're able to serve on a per vehicle basis. And then also the improvement that we've had since we launched in July, moving from 2.5 rides per hour to almost 4 riders per hour in each of our vehicles is truly impactful. And so with that, I'll hand it back to Sarge.
And we think this is just the beginning. We think there's a lot of potential here to continue to grow this service and find new riders to engage with and people that will be impacted by ViaLC and their ability to access jobs, access healthcare, access essential services. We've made a few adjustments to the program as we've gone along, as we've gotten feedback from Karen, the county, Pam, the overall team, and I think these changes have made a tremendous impact. We hear things like, hey, can we make the application available in different languages? So very recently we actually updated the application to be able to be available in Spanish. So for riders that have Spanish as their primary language, on their phone, the app will automatically translate into Spanish for them. Same thing with the website. For people who are going to the website on the Lorain County Transit website and want to find more information about ViaLC, they can translate that to Spanish as well. So little things around the edges like this, as we get feedback from the community, are things we want to continue to do. And as VIA continues as a company to evolve how our technology is deployed and how we think about servicing our partners, that's truly going to impact ViaLC as well. Commissioner Moore, when he was speaking, says he's a data guy. I had the pleasure of speaking with Commissioner Gallagher about after the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, and you told me the same thing. You're really into the data. And I think that VIA, as a tech company, we really care about data as well. We want to make that as accessible as possible to our partners. And you probably can't see the visuals here, but the more that we invest in our platform and the ability to share with our partners exactly where people are riding to and from, where are the top destinations, how frequently are people going, what times of day, that truly informs how a transit system evolves. This transit system can truly evolve based on the data of how people are using it. and become better, serve more riders, and serve them more efficiently. And as Laura had mentioned, there's a big study going on right now where some of the fixed routes may change in the future. There may be more connectivity to other parts of Lorain County. And as these new bus lines start to emerge, as these new connections start to emerge, we want ViaLC to start to evolve alongside of that. So some of the technology we'll start to see as the transit network here starts to change is, imagine that you're in Lorain or in Elyria and you're going to Avon for work, where there's maybe a future microtransit service. In your application, you can book a ride saying I'm going from Lorain all the way to Avon, and in that it will tell you, okay, you're going to go to this corner, you'll pick up your ViaLC. That's going to take you to a bus stop. You'll wait 5 minutes there. You can buy a ticket through the application and be able to hop on the bus. The bus will drop you off in Avon, and there'll be another ViaLC waiting for you to take you to your last mile. So these types of things, these types of integrated transit networks are things that we're building here at Via. And as we get to a point through the study and start to evolve and rethink how transit is working in Lorain County, we want to build that technology around making the rider experience truly great, a truly 21st century world-class transportation product. And we think about the future too. We know that vehicle technology itself is evolving quite a bit, and we want to evolve with it. So if the county at some point, the cities are interested in things like electrification. VIA has some of the top experts in thinking about how to electrify fleets and doing it in a way that's really efficient and getting the right vehicles on the road at the right time. Autonomous vehicles, the technology is not quite there yet for public transit, but as it starts to get better, as it starts to improve, this is not going to replace any of our existing vehicles, but it could really do a great job of supplementing and creating more supply for microtransit in the future. So we're really excited to embrace this type of technology. And the final thing I'll say here too before we wrap up our slide is, transit continues to evolve over time. Historically, as we think about transit, it's been the backbone of transit has been buses and trains and paratransit, dial-a-ride systems, and very recently, microtransit became a part of that overall transportation medium. Very recent evolution with technology the way it is, and now we start to think about what's next, and things like dynamic fixed routes. So the idea that maybe microtransit can be effective during certain hours of the day, but then during those times when people are commuting, maybe those microtransit vehicles can flex into a true fixed route, getting people from employment hubs to neighborhoods, and then go back into being a more demand responsive style system and creating the technology around those types of things. That's where we get really excited to find ways to truly better serve our communities. So again, thank you so much for the partnership. We're really excited to continue to work with the county and the cities, the commissioners. I really appreciate the support.
So it's great to hear from our partner and the success they're seeing in the program. It's also great to hear that our program is one of the most successful programs, if nowhere else, at least in the Midwest. And it's always great to see us meet the state up north. So one of the things that we want to do is to share with you some success stories of ViaLC. And we have two presenters this evening. I'll call each one up individually. So Veronica Newsom from the city of Lorain is here to speak a little bit about the successes that they're having within the city of Lorain. And she, let's see her here. Yeah. Great, well thank you. Come on up.
Let's see, there we go. Hello everyone, I am here tonight to speak to you instead of Jack Bradley, who has prepared me not at all. Luckily, as Commissioner Moore mentioned, it was probably about 2 years ago now, I want to say. It was around January, probably, of 2023. When we first started looking at, in the city of Lorain, what's going on with the transit? And we were in the office and we had a new intern, and I said, hey, why don't we build a new transit system? Let's just see what that would look like. And she said, oh, that sounds like a great project. So we started working. We started calling around and, finding out who does this well, who's successful, what does it look like? And we found that the city of Sandusky has an excellent system. And so we called and we tried to find out who was the builder. And it turns out that it was a woman in Oberlin. And she did it as her first job out of college, and she was an intern. So our intern was like thrilled that she could be the new intern working on this. So we started working on it, and we talked to NWACA quite a bit, back and forth, how do we do this, and what will this lead to, etc. And they said, well, we have to talk to FTA, that's the Federal Transit Administration, and make sure that you guys can apply. And we were like, okay, that's great, let us know. Well, we're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and no one ever got back to us, so we just kept proceeding. The day before, they called and said, oh, you can't apply, you have to have the county apply. And Jack Bradley said, let me call Dave Moore. And poor Dave, it was like 11 o'clock on a Thursday, and he gets this call that's like, can you come to City Hall? And so Dave came down to City Hall, and he's like, oh, what is all of this? And so we had quite a good chat about it, and he was really enthused, as he said, because he had used Dial Ride growing up, and he just found that it was a fantastic system. And microtransit had not been tried before in Lorain County, so Commissioner Moore was really interested in this. And you know, it's always a gamble. You don't know if something's going to work. You can have all the data in the world, but when you get out there, is it actually going to work? But he was very positive that, you know, the other commissioners would be interested in this, and so we put it on the agenda for the next day with the help of Karen. I had never met Karen before, and Karen just started throwing out those emails. And together, the city of Lorain with the commissioners, we were just successful in getting that legislation passed, ready, and our application over to NOACA with the help of Pam Novak and her team as well, the next day. So we were very agile in getting that application together. And so NOACA did end up giving us, I think it was about $2.8 million for Lorain County Transit to basically reinvent what transit's gonna look like. But as Commissioner Moore pointed out, in the interim, we want to make sure that we're collecting some data, trying to find out where people are, where they work, where they go to school, what their needs are, instead of creating a system and hoping that it'll somehow fit people. So in doing so, ViaTransit came in, ViaLC. I don't think we had that name to begin with. It was just like microtransit. And through all the iterations, we came up with ViaLC. I don't know who colored the cars. Was that Pan? Was he?
It was a joint decision.
Okay.
Our rooster tried to get involved in that one too.
Gotcha.
That was a lot of fun.
I know it wasn't us. I know the city of Lorain didn't have anything to do with the colors. I remember finding out they're blue and green. We're like, okay, that's good. We like it. So that was very interesting. And then the county was able to go ahead, as they pointed out, and use their funds and launch it in both Elyria and Lorain. You know, the two largest, densest areas within the county. And as Commissioner Moore said, from day one, it was like 5,000 people. I remember just hearing the first week, they were like, oh, we have, 50 riders today, like day one. And then a couple days later, they're like, we have 150 riders. And then a couple days later, they're like, we have 300 riders. And as it's gone along, we've just found that the riders are consistently using it. They're using it because we had crazy things happening. Like, we had people in Lorain couldn't get to the Walmart in Lorain. So they were getting on a bus, going to the Walmart in Elyria. It was a 2-hour ride. They shopped, and then it was another 2-hour ride to get back when they lived right down the street from the Walmart in Lorain. So those were the types of things that we wanted to remedy, is make it a system that was very comfortable, very easy to use for all users. Also, there's things like Elyria High School that they don't bus, the city of Lorain does, and there's just different needs in the community. And this could be very flexible, and they can add on the cars, subtract the cars as needed. But yeah, just right from the beginning, it was a big success. And then as the weather started to turn, we saw some bumps here and there because the ridership went up again in December by a great amount. So there need to be some adjustments. But everyone that I've talked to in the 6 months or so that it's been running, I've had many people talk about some adjustments they'd like, but everybody seems really interested in riding it, very positive, or just interested that it exists. I haven't heard anybody be like, oh, well, I don't need that. No, It seems like everybody realizes, oh, I broke my leg, I can't drive, I can't get my kids to school, my car broke down. Everybody seems to be having a use for it. And if not, they know somebody who does. So that's all I have. I don't have anything prepared. I did ask the mayor's secretary today, did he leave anything for me? And they said, oh no, he did not. So, just like everybody.
That's on vacation, right?
Yes, I just got back from vacation. And I will say, so I rode the Amtrak here from Elyria to DC on Saturday, and then on Sunday I rode the Amtrak from DC down to Atlanta, and then I flew back yesterday. So yes, if you're not aware, there's an Amtrak station over there, and you can ride it, and the Floridian usually leaves about 1 a.m. That's not too bad, and that'll take you down to Miami. And then, I think the Lakeshore Limited comes out of there too. And then heading the other way to Chicago, that comes in at like 3:30, I wanna say, so.
So we do have from the city of Elyria, Brad Armstrong. So Brad, I understand you agreed to speak on behalf of the mayor. It sounds like you were voluntold. You were voluntold to come speak here today.
How's everybody doing? I'm Brad Armstrong, 5th Ward Councilman of Elyria. And this program is a true blessing to my constituents because I lost Audie's as a neighboring asset. And a lot of people were concerned about how to go get their groceries and whatnot. And we as a city, we tried to do our own little busing thing. It failed. I will say that it failed. We had 2 riders. So I called Dave up one day and said, Dave, man, what's going on with the Via? Brad, we're gonna do it. Good. So the Via comes, you see this thing everywhere. I see it at least 10 times a day, easily. The best thing about it is, like she said, the high school students. You'll see that thing at the high school, and that's probably one of the biggest, I don't know, travels, because our kids would walk through tornadoes just to get to school, and they don't have to do that anymore. That's great. And the best thing about that is our students only pay $1. Then another thing is I have a lot of LMHA housing complexes in my ward, and that consists of elderly people and whatnot, fixed incomes. So that greatly helps the senior citizens because it's free. Shout out to Dave. Again, it's free for the seniors.
Is he a senior?
He is. But I mean, from $1 to get your child to school is a blessing. Because if you go, you put $1 in your tank, it ain't gonna move. That needle is not moving. So to get your kid back for another $1, that's amazing. For me to give my granny $5 for bingo, and she can go for free, that's a blessing. We have to realize that these blessings took a lot of time. When did you start on this day? What, 2001? It's a long time. But sometimes you just have to wait for a good blessing. And I'm glad that we as the Elyria had the opportunity to partner up with Lorain so we could do this. Because there are a lot of people that do not have transportations. And here we are, 7 months in, I believe, 8 months in. Numbers are incredible. I can't wait to hear the numbers. But I know for this, everybody in Elyria, young, old, good looking, ugly, sorry, not as good looking as the commissioners. It's great. I even took a date to the beach. I started in Elyria, we went to the lake. Who would have thought? It cost us $4. We were there, and a margarita came back home. It's good. No DUI, didn't have to worry about it. But all jokes aside, I want to speak up to all my residents and say that I'm so glad that this program has happened. And I can't wait to see the continued success of this program. Thank you.
So we heard about the success of the program, and we're gonna hear, once again, Keona's gonna come up, and, part of the strategic plan, we had 50+ meetings, and Keona was probably at 60 of those meetings, so I appreciate her participation, but she showed a passion significantly in this area, so this is important that we have her come and speak this evening, so thank you for coming.
Certainly, thank you for having me. It is true, I'm very, very passionate. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and in a major city like that, transportation, public transportation is just, it's a moot point. You just know what it is, right? And so to have it come to Elyria, I also started off at LCCC as a student. And as a student, I wrote the LCT. And so understood the need from the very beginning. So my name is Kiana McIntosh Farms, and I oversee the wraparound resources that are at LCCC. And they're highlighted here for you. It's holistic student services, and these are the things that we help with. As you can see, transportation is a part of that. And it is very, very important to us that we are providing all that we possibly can to help our students succeed. And so in this, we do have data. I'm glad that y'all like it because it's important. And we have that information. And basically, we want you to know that the reason why we feel that it's important is because of the things that we identified here. The average commute for workers is about 24 minutes, right? And then the percent of workers in Ohio. Now that right here is based on LCT's numbers, right? We understand that people use the public transportation, but that percentage is so low because of LCT and the individuals trying to get to and from where they needed to. The age of those working from home, that's there. You can see that. But this census data helps us to understand the need for public transportation. And then we also looked into specifically the ARC, as shown already, were 2,086 requests in 2020-2021 school year. As you can see here, out of 306 students surveyed, that gave you that there were about 70% of respondents physically coming to LCCC at least once per week, right? That they were coming at least about 4 times a week, 15% of them. And then the family and friends that dropped off, that they had to use 40% of them because they needed to get to and from LCCC. They had to share vehicles, they had public transportation, and so on. And then 29% of those individuals, they felt like they were, really having trouble with transportation. If you look over to the left of this particular slide, you actually see some testimonies that they had to rely on, family to get them to and from, that they didn't want to, necessarily have an unsafe experience when they had to have night classes, because those do exist. While most of us probably didn't do it when we were in college, there are night classes at LCCC. And then they found it hard to navigate transportation in their first year of college. Even one had a toxic relationship and had to depend upon someone to get to and from so that they could possibly do different later on. There's also some more data in terms of the 2021 request. As you can see here, this is Lorain County. For these 5 different zip codes here, they show for us 305, 14% of the request for just that particular. You would understand this information here, Veronica. Down where our Lorain City Center is, that particular zip code, these are individuals that stated that they needed public transportation. And so the evidence is here. You all, I'm so happy to hear a lot of positivity in this particular meeting. It has been a pleasure to work with and work alongside the individuals, all of the individuals. I'm not the only passionate person. There are a number of individuals in this room, and we have been gracious to work alongside with them. Karen, Pam, Shannon. I bug Shannon all the time. She's the person that answers the phone most of the time. And so I'm so grateful that we are in this space right now. Likewise, we wanted to make sure that we were doing something. We understood the need, and it was important that we did something about it. And so, as already stated by the commissioner, LCCC loves to partner. Community is our middle name. We say it often, but we mean it, and we put forth actions to prove that that's what the case is. And so, with that, we continue to partner with United Way, the mobility manager, and the MOVE board, which I happen to be the chair of the MOVE board. And in that, we try to make sure that we are doing all that we can to be the voice of the citizens within Lorain County, and likewise, making sure that we are continuously working together to do what is necessary for the betterment of the community. And so it was important to us to engage the students. We knew that there was a need, and so we went after making sure that during our week of welcome, that we had 10-minute open sessions, so that it didn't matter what the students' schedules were, we were going to provide them some information. I had the privilege of having Liz, the mobility manager, right by my side through each of those, and shared that information. We co-partnered on those and made sure that the students knew that the VIA was here and hopefully here to stay. But we wanted to make sure that we proved that it was a need within our community. And for that, I would say that everybody in this room needs to give themselves a round of applause, because I think we did that like it was nobody's business. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. But in that, we wanted to make something fun. It's important for us to engage our campus community, and so we did a scavenger hunt. And it was a good success. There were individuals who were able to earn some different things, and we're happy about that. We also purchased, you need to know that we have been working and partnering with the city of Elyria, or Lorain County, for a number of years. Back when I was a student, we decided that we were going to work with our bookstore and Miss Pam and Miss Karen back in the day to make sure that we had those bus tickets available in our bookstore so that students could get them with their financial aid. We wanted to make it as streamlined as possible so that the students wouldn't necessarily have the barriers, the unnecessary barriers, I should say. And then, as I stated, mobility manager and MOVE board, we worked hand in hand with that, and so it's imperative that I share this information. A lot of people don't understand what the mobility manager does. So I'm gonna give you a few seconds to read this slide, because it is important. Likewise, the MOVE board, which of course is, here to help advocate and be that voice for those for the community. The MOVE, for those of you who do not know what MOVE stands for, is mobility and opportunity for a vibrant economy. And so we consistently make sure that we are trying to work together and have what is needed for the residents. And then our efforts here, the how. We did 26 posts shared on social media. We provided via link on our ARC email. We did flyers. We made sure that information ran throughout the day on our informational TV screens throughout the campus, but primarily over where the ARC sits. And then we had promotional events like we already talked about during our Welcome Week. We likewise had information at our We Care Fair. And that's not a shameless plug because the real one is coming later. In regards to the success, we had 276 students reported transportation as their basic needs. As you saw, that list of things that we help students overcome, the barriers that we help them knock out. It was 276 students who reported from that. And so that's a large number to me. I'm not sure, I'm sure that some of you are like, well, LCCC has thousands of students. That's true. But these are the students that came to us, right? So that doesn't mean that students are not experiencing all kinds of other obstacles. These are just the amount of students that came to the ARC. So 276 of those, and then we referred 172 students to VIA. Out of that though, we also, it wasn't just for the students, the staff and even I would say faculty, there are some individuals that, you know, understand the importance of saving the dollar, you know, saving their monies and different things like that. Those individuals, we had 16 staff that we know of that were referred to the source as well. So overall, that, you know, staff and students, they rave about the service. Many reported that they could not have gotten to LCCC without the VIA transit. So that is a wonderful thing. And they absolutely love, I heard the commissioner talking about the phone and how, you know, with the app and the things that are coming, but they absolutely love that friendliness approach. But you do know that while there are a number of different successes, there are always things that we can improve upon. And so the challenges, but only from, even this is positive, because I just talked about how it was 172 that we referred personally, right? But out of that, 12 of those students shared that in October, and I'm sure this has something to do with the increase, listening to the data that we've heard from here this evening, that when it increased for the schools, when the school started, that, you know, there were multiple students who reported an extended wait time, that there were some who, you know, the class was at a certain time and they couldn't get to the class on time, things like that. But we know that nothing is perfect. We know that there's always an opportunity to improve. And so these are just some of the things, but I want you all to notice that out of the number that we provided, only 12 provided us with information about their experience not being so grand. But don't just take it from me. Hear it from a student.
Have been overall pretty good. They have very personable drivers. There's a few that I have been friends with. For the most part, they're usually very on time. It's a very convenient way to get from one place to another. I find them to be very helpful, particularly to elderly or disabled passengers. I've seen some people go out their way just to do the right thing by them. One of the few things that I feel that could be improved upon is communication between rider and driver. If there's going to be a possibility of them not showing up on time. Another thing I feel that could help them out maybe a little bit more is letting us know like a clear time when drivers actually get on the road. There has been a few instances where I assumed, since they said they opened at a certain time, that I would be able to receive a ride by a certain time, and I was almost late or did show up late for something that was important. All in all, I believe that the communication between like drivers, riders, and the parent company could be improved. But for the most part, I've had a very enjoyable experience. I feel the price is very affordable, especially for students or anyone that's attending school. It is amazing for them to be able to have a transportation. It has opened up so many avenues. I know for other students that I have talked to that usually, you know, have problems getting here, there have been some really, really good things to come of that. Another thing I feel that could be improved upon is maybe going a little later, because I know in the instances of some students, they have to take it here and it's their only mode of transportation. And I know after a certain time, it is either very hard for them to get rides if they can get them at all. And I know some classes go far into the night. Other than that, overall, I've had a fantastic experience with ViaLC.
Thank you. Thank you. Because he did give a shout out to the drivers as well. There was a lot of great information, and that's honestly a lot of what we hear. There's so much appreciation for this. Honestly, it's a game changer for our town. For Lorain County, this is a game changer for sure. And so we wouldn't just bring you successes and opportunity, or challenges, I should say. We would also bring you opportunities. So when you talk about partnerships, right? That's how this meeting kicked off. We think that it's imperative that Lorain County Community College, partner and we become a transportation center. Although we are sitting in a transportation center, by all means, we have had there are a number of different students that come in and out of LCCC. And so we believe by positioning us in that will help remove barriers, continue to remove them in a huge way. There were some instances where a student would have to go to Elyria and then cross the street and get on a ViaLC to go into Lorain, things like that. And we'd like to remove those types of barriers. We love partnerships with Lorain County, and we think that this one would be a remarkable one. We, as you've heard throughout this time, that it's important. It's not just important for, if you educate those students, right, you get them to the school, they then get jobs, they then help the economy. So it's important that we collaborate and partner in this way. So that's one of my shameless plugs. The other thing is that we do have that We Care Fair that I mentioned earlier. And in that We Care Fair, we often share all of the things that we provide for our students to succeed while on their collegiate path. But we likewise partner with a number of different agencies and organizations. And a lot of them are experiencing the same things in terms of transportation and different things like that. And so while it may be a shameless plug, it is also something that we need because it shows how we consistently collaborate and partner. And so please, by all means, make sure that you reach out to us and if you want to be a part of that, and if you are a member of the town, if you are a community member and you want to learn about what is the resources that we have available within Lorain County, by all means, this is where you should come. So that's what I have. Thank you. Dave, I have to give you a shout out. You have been fabulous through the process and we appreciate you.
I'll give the mic to you if you want to say that again. So I want to thank everyone for speaking so far. We're about to have Karen Perkins come up. But before I do, there are some good, hardworking people that work for the Lorain County government that are here, and I want to recognize them. We have Rob Duncan. Rob and I work together in Community and Economic Development. I'll recognize him for being here this evening. We have our county administrator, Jeff Armbruster, who's here as well. And obviously, the county can't run without strong leadership. And Jeff has been a phenomenal leader for our county, and I want you to know that. We have Todd Sharkey, who is managing our IT. He's our IT director. He's here as well. And you've heard a little bit about Pam and Shannon and the work they do with Lorain County Transit being liaisons. They've been great. They've been very coordinating this, and Pam's been with Lorain County Transit for a long time. 38 years. So I was not going to recognize the years, but Karen Perkins did.
I just followed it.
And then Shannon's been with us just over about a year, and she's done a great job in helping coordinate the facilities and the activities of Lorain County Transit and being a great liaison to ViaLC. So I want to thank her for that. With that, I'll turn over to Karen Perkins, our Deputy Administrator. I didn't miss anybody else in the county, did I? Tracy Green, obviously from Lorain County Community College, for her involvement in activity, not only in this process, her process, but our strategic plan as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Karen. And afterwards, we do have some folks that wish to speak on behalf of themselves as individuals and their experiences with ViaLC.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Pam. So I get to be the person who's going to give you all the data, the facts. But before we get started, I too have worked for the county for 35 years. I too have had a lot of transit stories, but I'll share one with you. So my sister is disabled and lived in Lorain County all of her life up until about 15 years ago. So when it became necessary for her to take care of herself, have a job, get from point A to point B, Lorain County Transit, Lorain County in general, did not have a public transportation system that was flexible enough to support her. So she moved to Cleveland. So that's my personal story. It affects most of us in this room. We all have a reason why we're passionate about public transportation. I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm sure I've seen you at different meetings and such. But that is why I do what I do to try to improve public transportation for all of our citizens here in Lorain County. So for that, I'm going to think about what Lorain County Transit has been. We used to have a paper ticket. We used to have fare boxes in buses where we would put a coin in the box in order to get on the bus and make a ride. We were doing that up until a year ago. That was how Lorain County Transit operated. So to think about how far we have come in that year's time. So now we have an app where we can book a ride on our phone. You can pay for that ride. You know, you don't have to have cash money in your pocket. We still accommodate those that need that paper ticket or that they need to, call Shannon for a ride, or Deb, where are you, Deb? There you are, for a ride. We provide the dial-a-ride service, but without the money that the commissioners spent to invest in the software, the remix software that we're using that's going to gather all the data for us. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that's supporting the ViaLC. There's a lot of changes that we've gone through in the last year, and I'm going to say it, and it's all because I'm going to prove to you that we can get people on transit. Mr. Armbruster. So with that, let's see where we're going here. I've got my notes spread out, so bear with me a little bit. This is a shocking picture. Don't be afraid. There it is. The Dave Moore, Mayor Brubaker, Mayor Bradley photograph. But this is going to show you some pretty amazing statistics. So since we started our service in July of 2024, we have completed 50,000 rides. 50,000. Our ViaLC is an essential part of daily riders. They're riding every day. They're not just riding on occasion. There's going to be some numbers here, and I'm going to pull them out as we go. But the thing, and I think Commissioner Moore said it, there's like 42% of the folks riding Via are going to work and back. Those are riders that we didn't have before. So when you think about how our previous transit system was operating, it was taking you 2 hours to get from point A to point B. There's no way you could do that to work and back every day. So those are new riders for us. Those are the folks that are joining us today as supporters of public transportation. We need to remember that. So we have the ease of access. We talked about that with the app on your phone. 93% of our riders are booking those rides on the app. So here is a list of our top destinations. Since we launched our service, Lorain County Community College, you're on the list. Walmart, imagine that, multiple Walmart locations. Lorain and Elyria High School, I think probably primarily with ViaLC, so Lorain still has their busing. McDonald's, multiple locations. I see this as an employer and not as somebody going to get lunch. So this is people who are working at McDonald's that need a ride to and from for work. Mercy Regional Medical Center. A lot of folks here in Elyria are going to Chestnut Commons. There's a lot of things to do out there. I think Brad Armstrong. Yes, that's where the new Aldi's is. So now we can get our Elyria residents to the new Aldi's out there in Chestnut Commons. Lorain Public Library. And the last item on here is the fixed route transfer points. And one of the things that we're planning for our future is to better locate those fixed locations so that they're easier for us to work with multiple microtransit regions. So those are the things that we're looking for as far as in the future goes. So this slide tells me that 45% of our survey respondents use the service to go to work. That's an amazing number. So that is, like I said, these are new riders. This slide, if it's doing its thing, it's doing its thing. It's showing you that what the before and after was like. So you'll see it moving back and forth, say before microtransit, after microtransit, and it shows us how well our numbers have improved. So that's a pretty big deal. Riders going to school, 17%. That's a pretty good number. We have a quote here from a survey respondent. It is very helpful getting my son back and forth to school. So this goes right back to you, Mr. Armstrong. So these folks here in Elyria are definitely using the service. Let's see here. 24% for trips to shopping centers. I see this as a lot of folks that weren't able to go do this shopping before. Now they're able to go, they can get their shopping, they can get a ride, they can get back to their crew. Notice I said their crew and not their driveway. So I've been trained. Riders recognize and appreciate the value of ViaLC, and they're excited to see it continue into the future and expand. So we have 71% of our respondents report an annual household income below $50,000. 30% of the respondents would have chosen not to take the trip if ViaLC was not an option. 79% of the respondents do not have access to a personal car. That's a lot. 79%. Again, 79% of respondents say they save money by using this service. They do save money. Our fares are $2. There's been some talk, and we're going to get to that, I think, eventually, with regards to, would you pay more? Would you pay more to ride Via? So generally, we did a survey of what do folks want to see most? What do they need out of ViaLC? And our survey says 64% want expanded service hours or days, added days onto the service. 20% want to go to more places. 5% want lower wait times. This was an eye-opener for me because I listened to Dave Moore in my ear for a year saying there's no way people should have to wait for an hour for the bus, 2 hours on a bus ride. So I think you gave us, you wanted people to only have to wait 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. Well, it comes to find out people don't mind a wait. They can wait that 10 minutes. They would rather be able to go someplace after hours, after 6:30, or on the weekend. And then we had a 5% no answer. So that was an interesting little survey that we got to do. So as we continue to collect ridership data, Lorain County Transit in connection with VIA will explore new ways to optimize the service. The short term would be to consider adjustments to the Lorain and Elyria zone boundaries. We talked a little bit about that. Dave's story was, we had a hard line on Lorain, and there were services that were able, that the riders would benefit from just across the street in Amherst. So what we ended up doing is, think of it like a balloon. So you have that balloon, and that's your region. If you poke the balloon on this end, it's going to come out on that end. So we just shrank down where the service wasn't as necessary, and was able to extend it out and not change our contract price. I'm going to talk about price a little bit and contracts and those kinds of things. But just remember, at the end of the day, our riders are paying $2, $1, $0 for a ride that costs $18 to $20 to provide. So that is where the subsidy has to come back. That's where the county grant monies need to be spent. That's where the city's contributions come in. That's where we go to the employers that are benefiting by having employees at their door on time every day. Let them contribute a little bit towards that cost. Back onto the slide. So we're going to explore, for longer term, access potential on-demand opportunities. The slide says like Oberlin. I've heard from Avon, I've heard from Avon Lake, I hear from North Ridgeville. There's a lot of interest throughout the county looking for other regions that we can implement microtransit. And work alongside the county and local stakeholders and consultants to shape a multimodal transit network. And when we're talking about a multimodal transit network, we're looking at ways that we can use our microtransit and our fixed route to complement one another. Have multiple locations throughout the county for those transfer points to make it more efficient. Instead of having a run on a microtransit from the west side of Lorain to the east side of Lorain and back, that's actually a pretty long truck for that van to go, and it takes up a lot of time. You know, let's see if we can shorten that route and make it a little bit more efficient for us. So what is the maximum price increase per ride that you would be willing to pay to facilitate better service quality and more ride availability? This is what we ask our riders. How much are you willing to pay? More, how much more? And I think $1 more looks to be the way to go. But then if you look down at the bottom, I'm not willing to pay any more. And there's a reason for that. You know, folks can't pay more. The way we can keep our fare prices down for $1, $2 is to share that ride. So if you think you've got four folks in the riding for $2, you know, that gets us a little closer to our $18, $20 per ride amount. So we've got to encourage more ride sharing. It saves us in fuel, it saves a lot of things, but the way we make it work is by ride sharing. If we expanded the service hours, which hours would you use the most? And we're talking weekend service. They want to see a weekend service run. Everybody's shaking their head, yeah, me too, yeah, me too. So, let's see how much that's going to cost. Now, this is where we get to the nitty-gritty, right? So, this is how much it costs for microtransit. Our current contract here, in order to provide microtransit services to both the cities of Elyria and Lorain, it's cost county government $2,124,500. That's the total cost. That cost includes the vehicles, the drivers, whatever operating expenses that come along with that. So for year 2 of this contract, to provide the identical services, the cost goes up, I think it's 3%. Is that my phone? Jeez. So, goes up 3%, I think, for driver increases. It's very minimal. This is the exact same service. We're at $2,062,060. So we cut that not exactly in half because we do provide more services in Lorain than we do into Elyria. So Lorain has 7 vans, Elyria has 6. So the math is a little different. So that's the cost for our second year contract. So I sat down with both Mayor Brubaker and Mayor Bradley, and we talked about how successful microtransit is and how are we going to continue this for the next year or even longer. What's it going to take? What do we got to do? So I explained to both mayors, I said Lorain County cannot afford to spend 100% of its grant dollars for the cities of Elyria and Lorain. I said we need to expand our microtransit service to other areas within the county. They fully understood, and they said, okay, tell us how much you want. And this is where I guess I made the mistake, because I figured, let's do this in thirds. The county can pay a third, the cities can pay a third, and then we can go out and ask our community partners for the remaining third. And so the mayor said, yeah, we'll do that. Well, then I find out later that Dave had to pay it more than a third. So there you go. Divide and conquer, right? So get us in the same room, maybe we'd be on the same page. So what we're here for today is to try to teach and educate each and every one of you in this room so that you can be a part of our team and you can go out and speak on our behalf on how important it is that our employers and our retail establishments, our medical facilities, our schools say this is an important service to us, and we have some funds that we have access to that we can contribute toward the cause. So here is some budget options and scenarios. Again, to continue the service as is, we're looking for that $2 million, a little bit more. If we add a Saturday service, we need another $300,000. If you add extended hours to 8 p.m. on the weekdays, you need another $165,000. So this is where the money comes in. This is where the rubber meets the road. Provide ride proposals for 90 to 95% of requests consistently. So we heard some comments about delayed rides or not getting the rides quickly enough or waiting too long. That is because our contract only allows us so many hours in so many vehicles. The minute we go longer hours or we add more vehicles, then the cost goes up. So it's not because we don't want to do it, but we have a budget constraint and we got to kind of stick within that budget. So that's why that number that we saw with the pie chart that said the most important thing to them were the extended hours. Or no, I'm sorry, it was the weekend hours. So do we want to spend that additional $165,000 to provide the weekend services or not? I mean, that's a decision we have to really base that on dollars and cents. Do we have the dollars to do it or don't we? So today, we're educating, like I said, each and every one of you, you're gonna help us. You're gonna help us get this campaign started. You're gonna be out there, you're gonna be our spokesperson. You're gonna talk microtransit to whomever's gonna listen to you. If you know somebody that works somewhere, say University Hospital for instance, and you know that person and you're gonna say, hey, have you heard about microtransit? Do you know that microtransit's bringing people to your emergency room? I saw it just the other day. Little ViaLC van just zooming right up to the emergency room and dropping somebody off at the EMH. So tell our story for us. Give them our information. Let folks know. Let me know. I'll call them. I'll talk to them on the phone. I'll take Dave. Dave can, strong arm and make him give us some money, pony up some cashola. So again, I'm looking towards all of you to help us continue the service. That's what we want to do. We want to continue the service. We want to make it a part of our normal operating program so that we have a plan in place to make it into the future and we won't have to worry about it anymore. So I think we have a few riders that might want to say a few words to support our microtransit.
Thank you. So I think we've all thanked Karen for the job she does. It's interesting, I've been with the county almost 2 years, and County Administrator Brewster always says how strong Karen is and makes him look good, and I think we see why he makes those statements. We should all be very thankful that Karen has been working for the county for 35 years. Thank you. So on this sheet of paper, before I introduce, I have four riders that have requested an opportunity to speak. Pam and Shannon would recognize the fact that we know it's dinner time, and we have some boxed dinners for you and some beverages. So on your way out or afterwards, you're welcome to stay. I'm assuming they can stay. I just invited them. So stay and have dinner here, or take it home with you, whichever you prefer. So we have 4 riders that have requested an opportunity to speak here tonight and give testimonials. And the first one is Aiden. If you'd like to come up, Aiden. Need some exercise.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to take this opportunity to speak. This isn't so much about a in-depth, presentation without my analysis of the numbers, but this is more about a raw, unfiltered presentation of how I feel about ViaLC and public transportation as a whole. So, primarily what I just wanted to discuss is not only my support for for ViaLC and everything it's doing, but also my enthusiasm for its expansion. And where I would like to see expansion, you know, my pipe dream of it is in primarily two policies. I didn't even see the presentation. I walked in here with these two ideas where my fantasies of ViaLC expanding was, and that was in longer operating hours and weekend services. And why I wanted this and why I want it to be extended to the people of Lorain County is because public transportation is something that's very near and dear to me. My father was an urban transportation planner. I, grew up, talking about and I'm loving, things like transportation. And I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area where I had access to an entire swath, a plethora of public transportation put out there. And that was a sort of freedom that I had that I don't know if I could ever, really capture again. Being young and I've never felt more free than a kid with a bus pass. And I knew how to get to everywhere, and I knew how to do it, I knew how much it cost, and I knew what I could do, and everything felt possible. And it was because of public transportation, I was able to get to work. I was able to have my first jobs, and I was able to use that money to take up public transportation. I was able to buy gifts for my families. I was able to, buy my lunch. I was able to buy, my comic books or my video games. I was able to cultivate myself as a person because of public transportation. And I think the people of Lorain County deserve that sort of cultivation, to be able to realize themselves as people, to be able to interact with the city, not only as workers, but as consumers and as citizens. And so I understand and I very much sympathize with the constraints that might come with planning such services and such expansions. But again, I can't speak to that. But I can speak to the message that you'd be giving the county by expanding such services. You'd be sending the message that, especially with weekend services, you'd be sending the message that you care. Not only about people getting to work, but you care about people being able to take time off and think about less constraints to be able to enjoy themselves, to be able to go out to a restaurant, have a couple of drinks, not worry about whose car you're taking, how much, how much is going to pay for gas, who's going to be the DD. And I think it also would be showing that you're not just dedicated to the survival of the county, but to its prosperity and to the happiness of its citizens. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. Laura Walker. Where's Laura? Oh, here you can say where you are.
All right.
If you'd like to.
Hello. Are you all, I'm blind, so just tell me where you are. Hi, I have been a Lorain County transit rider since 1988. I've harassed Debbie here for rides for a good 3 decades. I retired from the North Center, and when I did that, I retired from harassing Debbie. And a friend of mine late fall said there was this new bus thing. I waited about a month before I reached out to find out about it, and I finally bit the bullet, and because I was really not sure, and I decided I really needed a haircut one day. I went for the first time in my life to get a haircut by myself. Okay, it took me 59 years to get there, but I didn't. I now volunteer at the Friendship APL once a week, socializing with cats because of this service. It's awesome. I have gone to doctor appointments not having to ask family and friends for rides. I went for the first time last week. I took myself to lunch. Okay, never had such freedom as I am having with this service, and I'm so grateful for it. Hazel's, by the way, is really good. The only thing I would like to see, well, expansion. I know there's times, and I heard what Karen, I think over here, said. I would like the service areas. I really want to go swimming. I really want to get up to UH's fitness center. Please make that work. Right now I have to rely on people to do that. I want that freedom. You guys gave me a taste of it, I'm not stopping. Okay? And I also, these transfer points that I have not dared to do, because I've been told that, oh, we take you up to a gas station, you stand there, you put it in the application, and then you can go up. I'm not willing to do that. I don't want to stand out in the snow and the rain and hope for kindness of strangers, okay? So whatever you do with transportation points, make them someplace that are safe, preferably indoors, and usable, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarge. I hope you got that for another positive testimonial. Victoria Kent. I'll come over.
Well, I'm not a writer, but my grandson is. I am the councilwoman of Ward 2 in the city of Lorain. So where you saw some of those areas of blight, of need, that's my ward, those are my people. This has been a game changer, and I thank you for the presentation, and I thank you for your hard work, because a lot of people in my ward have been isolated, lonely, and without transportation for a very long time. So this is helping them. I just want to tell you a very quick story. I have a resident in my ward, she's 97 years old. She gave up her car at 90. I gave her the phone number because she's not gonna work an app. And so she started calling and she said, this is giving my independence back. So of course they want to expand. They want more hours, they want more weekends. We know that's costly, that can come. But I would say that continual to reach out to seniors, because they're not gonna do the apps as well. It's something that's a little bit more of a challenge. So getting those phone numbers out to LMHA would be really helpful, but also continue talking to people and getting the feedback. Someone said, we have to make this to fit people, not just make it, not the other way. So my grandson is actually taking it from Lorain High School because he gets out of school early, and there is no bus that brings him early. He'd have to sit there to 4 o'clock. So, I mean, this is kind of used broadly. I really appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you. I'll open it up. Is there anybody else that wishes to provide any type of testimonial or comment? Should I come back? Shannon, look at me.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work for the Elyria Public Libraries, and our patrons jumped on this right away. As soon as we got this information, we got it in their hands. We have been helping so many patrons get from A to B. The senior citizens really appreciate, because they're, like Brad said, they're in the buildings and can't get anywhere. So it has provided so many services for so many people. They do ask for that extended hours because they can't get to our programs. And our programs for adults sometimes are at 6 and they end at 7, and it's another community outreach that we try to connect with. But he was right, Elyria, they jumped on this right away. This is such a great thing for our community.
So I'll wrap up. I know we said 7:30 and it's 7:25, so we are perfectly on time. I just want to say one thing, and Commissioner Moore's here. I know he's been working on this for 20 years, and he's been driving this. This has not been lost on him, and he deserves some credit, a lot of credit, for being able to continuously drive the concept of expanding transit in Lorain County. So thank you, Commissioner Moore. With that, please, as Shannon and Pam will beat me up if I don't continue to express this thought, there is dinner over there, please help yourself, and thank you all for coming this evening.